New today, 3 North Carolina faith groups are suing the Trump administration over his decision to send immigration agents into churches and synagogues. The group represents nearly 24 denominations and thousands of congregations statewide. Lawsuit says the move violates their constitutional right to religious freedom. Joining me now, Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rose to discuss. And Khalif, we've touched on this topic a little bit earlier this month. The religious freedom argument. Tell me about that. What kind of weight it has?
I don't know. I've been dealing with this, trying to figure out, well, is there an argument? Do I buy the argument? Let's start with this. For decades, federal immigration authorities have made it the sensitive areas where they tended to avoid. Biden extended that. President Biden said, you know what? We're going to add schools. We're going to add churches. We're going to add hospitals, local courthouses. He also added bus stops and a lot of other places. On day one, President Trump came in, rescinded all those Biden extensions, and told federal agents to just use what? Common sense is what he said. So he said, you don't have to worry about sensitive areas. You have to use common sense. And so I think the most recent arrest where they went into a church with a guy with an ankle bracelet on, and that guy with the ankle bracelet, they said, well, why'd you come here looking for him? He said, we're just looking for folks that have ankle bracelets on that fit the description. I think there are a couple of issues for that. But in terms of anything else, the religious argument, I think that may be problematic. Because I do think you have a right to a separation of church and state. I do think you have a right to assemble, and you have a right to your religious freedoms. I just don't think there's anything that's stopping the president from telling these agents that they can go into those locations.
And you're talking about the sensitive areas. Schools and religious some churches across the country have said that you can't come in there. Do they have any kind of weight right now against the White House in the legal battle?
And I think that schools, now we're mentioning schools, I think that's a different argument. A number of schools in the Denver area have filed lawsuits against trying to enforce and have the court stop the Trump administration from activating those orders. I think that's crystal clear. The Constitution guarantees every person every child, I should say, a right to an education. And it doesn't talk about citizen. So I think that's a cleaner argument. But when you talk about churches, I think that one gets a little murky. I really think it depends on what type of judge you get in front of and if they're willing to extend that to the religious freedoms. In terms of what they're trying to say here, I think the argument is something that is going to be a novel one because, as I've mentioned a number of times, we're in new, uncharted territory, places that we haven't been before. And so these will be cases of first impression. When you're looking at cases of first impression, they're hard to give a gauge on because I want to look at what have the court said before in the past. I can clearly say they've said schools are protected. Schools are things that you kind of want to stay away from, and you can't infringe on a person's ability to get education regardless of their citizenship.
Yesterday, the DOJ came out and said that they're going to sue the state of New York over its policies for not working with the immigration and law enforcement during that. Where do you think that goes?
I think that one has teeth as well. I mean, let's be clear. Even if you don't agree with these things, and that's what we're having happen right now, there are a number of things that the president is implementing that folks have strong opinions on one side or the other. And while I think you are entitled to an opinion, what you're not entitled to is just disregard a lawful command from the president or from the court. And so instances where an executive order has been issued and he has lawful authority to do that, in instances like this, where you have an agency that is underneath his control, he has authority to do that. If you have an objection, that's what the courts are for. You go to the court, you ask for them to file some injunction, but what you don't do is say, you know what, we're just going to disregard your order, because now we've created a system that is becoming unlawful. If you have a belief that he's filed some type of order that he doesn't have authority for, you just go file an injunction. And then a judge will determine, you know what, you were right. He doesn't have authority to do that. But what they're doing with the Department of Justice and any other agency that's trying to reject his order, they're not lawful.
Yeah, I've certainly seen this, the attacks of the targets here being New York and Chicago right now. All right. Chief,
what they've said are sanctuary cities. And so the writing was on the wall.
Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rose, thanks.